Hi, this is Everett, Everett's Watercolors. Welcome to my studio. I'm here today now to do a watercolor painting and demonstration. And I'm broadcasting live to YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, and later on into Instagram. In my studio today with my wife, Gloria.
Hello, everyone.
And she'll be monitoring the broadcast and also the chat room. The chat room's live, so if you have a question during the broadcast, give me a comment or a question. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Even after the broadcast on the live video replay, you can also make a comment in the section below on the bottom of this video. Today I'm going to do a fun painting. It's something I've always liked to do, and I've done it many times myself. But you need to practice it because it takes a little bit of practice. But I'm going to do a sunset sky with a very interesting looking foreground. So let's go to my painting table and let me get started. So there's my reference photograph. You can see the beautiful sunset sky with a lot of yellows and the reds and the oranges. Even up to the top there'll be the dark purple and dark blues up at the top. So dark at the top, coming down to warm on into the land. So that's my main color reference. What I've done now is I'm also in the foreground. I'm going to take that sky and I'm going to put a fence line in there in the foreground. It's going to be silhouetted because it's going to be backlit by the sunset. So I'm going to put a little landscape and a fence line. And also I'm going to add a tree. I think I want to add some interest. So I'm going to put this large tree with all those branches. And you're going to see how I do that. It's going to be very interesting. I love to paint trees. This is going to be very special. So those are my reference photographs. Okay, now what I've done, I've done kind of a concept study here in black and white. So this is going to be everything in the background is going to be that sunset sky. Then in the foreground is going to be the dark backlit landscape with fence line and this large open tree with no leaves on it, just the branches. Okay, so that's my design. That's my design diagram right there. Okay, I've transferred my drawing now to my watercolor paper. This is a quarter sheet. It measures 15 inches long and 11 inches wide. A quarter sheet of Gemini 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. Archival, which means it doesn't lose the color once I get the paint down. Very good. Over here, my palette, I'm going to use ultramarine blue. I'm going to use some reds and yellows and oranges down here on my palette, and later on maybe a little burnt sienna and a little bit of ultramarine blue for the dark foreground. I'm going to start out with the main brushes here. I'm going to use in the beginning is going to be the Hake brushes, Silver Brush Hake. This is the large, this is the medium, and the small size, and I have those available on my website on everettswatercolors.com in my supply page. I have the Hake brushes. They're available. All right, so let me get started. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to wet the, also what I may do in the beginning, I'm going to take, this is a piece of artist tape, about 1 inch wide. I'm going to prop my paper up. What that'll do now, when I start the wash, it'll come down from the top to the bottom, so it'll get a little gravity flow on the paint. So we'll start out with that. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is take the large Hake, and I'm going to put just plain water, and I'm going to go ahead and wet the paper, and that will help the paint flow very nicely. Get the paint a little wet on wet here. Get some more water. So I just want to dampen the page. I don't want to get too much water on there. I don't want the water to run too far, but it will move. Once you get the wet paint on there, it will blend. It will move. Once you get it wet. Come right down to the foreground here. Here, now you look at the paper and make sure there's a shine. There's a shine on the paper. You can see the water. It's wet all the way down. Okay, and so that just makes the paper damp. You don't want to get it too wet. You just want the damp paper. Okay, I'm going to set that one aside. Now I'm going to start with the lighter color. And I'm going to start with the yellows. This is lemon yellow here at the bottom. And I'm going to use the small Hake here to get started. I don't want to put too much water in it because there's water on the paper. So I want to have enough wet. I want plenty of pigment in my brush. So I'm going to start with a light, warmer color. I'm going to start with the yellows, a little bit of yellow deep, and a touch of orange here to start out with. Got to get a pretty good pile there to get started, okay? Now I'm going to go right across the center here, get started right in the middle, kind of let that blend in. Okay, now I'm going to pick up a little bit of that pyro red now, a little bit of pyro red. Pick up a little bit of pyro red, and you go in top here. So I want that color to go from cool to warm. Okay, now I'm going to pick up the middle-sized Hake, and I'm going to start putting in the cool colors. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of, this is quinacridone violet. It's got like a purple. It's got red in it, but it's got a lot of blue and red in it. I'm going to start over here, get the violet in there. Overlap the red. Now I'm going to pick up a little bit of ultramarine blue. A little bit of ultramarine blue and put that at the very top. Okay, now I'm going to leave the brushes, leave them nice and wet. Now I'm going to pick up some more of that yellow deep. And I'm going to continue on down here at the bottom. I'm going to put another layer in here. The paper's already starting to dry, which is okay. It's still damp because I got moisture in here. Now I'm going to pick up a little bit more of that yellow deep. Go in here and go up here. Keep going. You can see I'm going to keep it moving wet. Go down to the yellow, lemon yellow. Okay, now what you look at the paint now, and it says that's the color I want. But what's going to happen is it's going to dry. So it's going to dry about 30% later. So I'm going to go in and get a little more color, a little more pigment in here. So I'm going to go back with the yellow lemon, get that in there in the middle. Start down here at the horizon line. I'm going to pick up a little more of that yellow deep, which has got just a little bit of orange in it. Put that in there. And this time I'll pick up a little bit of orange. A little bit of orange. A little deeper. And then a pyro red. Right up to the top, bring it down, overlap that orange with the red. So I want a graded wash is what I want. So then I'll go down to my other brush, which has got the cooler colors. This has got the quinacridone violet in it. And a little bit of ultramarine blue at the top. I'll put some of it down at the bottom also. Okay. I'll go back and pick up that red again. Come across here. I'll pick up a little bit of that orange. I'm working down now, going from cool to warm. I'll pick up a little bit of the yellow deep. And then the last I'm going to pick up is the yellow lemon. Okay, now here at the bottom I'm going to put a little darker color. I'm going to take ultramarine blue mixed in with that quinacridone violet and go down here at the bottom. Start getting a coat here. that bottom prepared for some dark, cool colors. Okay. And I think what I'll do is I want to get that top a little bit darker, so I'm going to go in with a little bit of quinacridone violet and ultramarine blue. Now what I'm doing now is I'm going back and I'm modifying. I'm adding more pigment here to the mix. I'm going to pick up some more of that red. A bit of orange. The yellow deep. And on down to yellow lemon. I've got very little water in the brush, just enough to keep the paper damp. Okay. That's about what I want right there. Okay, that's my first layering. Okay, that's my sunset sky. Now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take a little bit of that yellow and orange again. Not yellow deep here. A little damp brush. Okay, all right. Okay, there's my sunset sky. Okay, and I'm gonna leave it leaning on that. Prop it up just a little bit while it's still draining down. Now I'm gonna go ahead and dry it out. So use my my Ranger blow dryer. This little heat gun is very effective. I got to get this nice and dry before I paint in the foreground and also that tree that I want to put in here. So I got to get this paint pretty dry. It'll take a little while. I put a lot of paint on here and a lot of water, so it's going to take a few minutes here to get this dry. It won't take too long. I can see the shine going away already, so it means that the paper's drying. If you watch the paper, you'll see the water content on the paper change. When the shine goes away, it's still damp, but it's you know it's drying pretty fast. And that's a time you don't want to touch the paint because it'll make marks on there. It'll make blossoms and things like that. So you want to make sure that you don't touch this paper while it's still damp, or it's going to make marks on there that you don't want. I want this sky to be real nice and smooth. Not going to put any clouds in there. They're just going to have a nice gradual shift of color from cool to warm as sunset colors. The red, the oranges, the blues, the reds, the oranges, and the yellows. You know, right, the back of my hand, I'm going to touch. If it feels warm and it's dry, now we're there. We're there. It didn't take that long. Double check again. Down here. Okay. All right, it's all dry. Now what I do now, I don't have to put it up. I'll take it off the piece of tape there and get it lying flat. Now I got it lying flat. I'm gonna do now. I'm gonna go ahead and start putting in the. I won't need the Hake brushes now. They're the one. The Hake is the one to put the wash down. Now I'm going to use a Holbein number 16 round to put in some of the foreground elements here to start out with. So I'm going to. I really don't need I don't need the warm colors anymore. So I'll take out the yellows. Take a sponge and just pick it right up. Okay, so I'm going to wet the palette, and I'm going to mix up some ultramarine blue, a little bit of Payne's gray, I'll pick up a little glycerin crimson. That'll mix that up, make it nice and dark, and put a little bit of quinacridone violet in there, and pick up a little bit of Payne's gray over here in the corner. I can pick up a little bit of a hooker's green. In other words, I want my dark colors in there, and that'll give me a nice dark foreground, because this is the backlit. This is the backlit scene. Ultramarine blue. There's a little bit of alizarin crimson here, a dark red, then a little bit of burnt sienna, a touch of Payne's gray, a little bit of quinacridone, just a dab of green. So I got a nice dark mix. Okay, now I'm going to go in here now. I'm going to go ahead and put in the foreground. And I'm going to start over here. From my diagram, you can see it's going to be a little hill mass here. It's going to hill mass is here on the foreground of the painting. So I'll go ahead and put that in real quickly. This little hill mass with a fence line and then a big tree. That would give this painting a little bit of interest. All right, you can already see here that with that warm sunset sky with the yellows and oranges, that this dark foreground is really going to be a nice contrast, and that's what I want. So I designed this to be a nice dark foreground, backlit by the sunset. And this dry paper takes a lot of paint, so I'm loading the brush now over and over again here with a dark paint. I'm going to pick up a little bit more. Burnt sienna, ultramarine, a little bit of alizarin crimson, a touch of Payne's gray, a little dab of hooker's green, a little bit of quinacridone. So this is all silhouetted, and it's dark, so it really is nothing. There's no detail down here at the bottom, so it's just a matter of getting the dark paint on. Okay. Now, next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put in the fence line. So I'm going to, again, pick up with the round brush, loading the paint from the side of the brush. Now roll the brush to get a nice sharp point. Nice sharp point. And now I'm going to go ahead and put in the fence post. This is just like drawing. The one fence post over here on the left side. And there's another. Now as I go down the hill, as I go down the little hill here toward the tree, these fence posts get a little bit smaller, look, for perspective wise, and a little bit shorter because they're going downhill and away. Give that illusion of depth in the painting. And put one over here. You don't see the tree yet, but the tree is here with the fence line. And a little small one way down here. Okay. Okay. Then I'm going to start putting a little bit of the tree in. I'm going to start putting in some of the trunk here, just to get started. I recommend that you, I made a drawing down here on the paper, and you can still see through the paint. It doesn't cover up the pencil marks, because the light paint allows you to see right on through. So I'll get the larger trunk here in the center. Okay, all right, that's just the beginning. All right, I'm gonna lay that aside. Now, what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna pick up another brush. Now, this is a number 4 rigger, and riggers are very interesting because they in this case here, I'm gonna do a lot of branches and a lot of small areas. So I'm gonna use the rigger, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in. Now, this is a number 4 rigger Holbein. I've also got a number 4 rigger. Number 4 liner from Silver Brush, and it's a little bit smaller. It does a nice job too. I think I'll use that for my wires. So load up the brush on the side and roll it. I roll the brush with my fingers, and that's sharpened as I pull it through the paint. And I sharpen it as I roll it through my fingers. That sharpens the point. Drag it through. Make sure it's loaded well, and I'm going to go ahead and put in some wires here, and I'll just lay it down and just drag it right on through. And now these are not going to be straight; they're going to be wiggly a little bit. They're going to have a little bit of. They're not perfect. These are old wires on this fence post. And this one down here is going to go. Now, as we go further down, the wire, it looks a little bit smaller. It gets further away, it's going to look a little bit smaller. So I'm putting less pressure on the brush. I'm just barely touching the paper. Get that nice fine line. Okay. All right. I'm going to put one more. I'll continue this one out here. I'm going to put one more line in. Start up here, and we'll come down. It just has a little bend in it. Give it a little character. Then it's going to, again, same thing. I'm going to less pressure now on the brush to make this thinner. Just barely touching the paper. Going behind this tree. If that's going to continue on, I'll connect this over here, this wire, with another line on the side. Okay? So I'll put the fence post in, and while I'm here, I'm going to put a little. I think I'll put this away for right now. I got three round brushes now. I'm going to get the larger brush here. This is the Holbein number 4 rigger, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a little bit of some grass and stuff growing next to these posts. So again, I just use the rigger now, very lightly, nice sharp point. And moving it from side to side. And I think I'm going to put another small tree in here. So I'm going to start up here. just just a bush behind that one. Just give a little break in the shapes and so forth. Give a little variety in the shapes. So I'm going to drag the brush now and make a little rough texture here on the edge of the silhouette here, because there's weeds and grass growing along the edge of the hill mass here. And over here I may put a much larger weeds over here. Okay, so there's a texture on top of the hill. Okay, this is more. Now the rest of the time we'll be working on the tree. So well, I'm going to use a number 4 rigger and load that brush with a load of paint, the ones I have here in the palette. Load it from the side. Now I'm going to lay the brush flat and drag it this way, with the point facing down, and I'm going to drag it almost parallel. Then I'm going to pick it up slightly as I get further out. That'll give me a nice gradual shape. Give you a nice gradual shape on the branch. You start with it laying flat. As you pull it out, you raise the pressure. It gets thinner as you go out. I'll put another one in here. Put one on here. There's one branch down here is going to kind of hang down, come down, swoop up a little bit. And these are the larger branches, and we'll be adding to this as I go on. I'm going to start over here now, get some going this way. So laying it flat, and as I move out to the end of the branch, I lift the pressure a little bit and let it get smaller at the top. Less pressure, lifting the brush. This takes a little bit of practice, a little bit of get a piece of extra piece of paper and practice the brush stroke. Hey, these are the larger limbs and so forth. These branches cross over each other. They don't line up together. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to switch to the smaller. Now this is the Silver Brush number 4 liner, which has less. This is a natural hair. The number 4 rigger from Holbein is synthetic. Is a synthetic brush, a blend. But this is natural hair from Silver Brush. This is a natural hair brush. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go ahead and add in some real small branches. The brush is smaller and much more defined for definition. Doing the same brush stroke. I start with the brush pointing down like this, and I drag it and bring it up, scoop it up. And building up the density of the brushes, branches here. There were a lot of limbs, a lot of branches on this tree. So I'm not even looking at the photograph. The photograph was a good reference just to get started, but from now I'm just using my artistic license and just putting in what I feel gives me the accuracy of what I want to do. This is all in silhouette, all backlit from the sunset sky. You drag that brush and then sweep it up. The stroke gets smaller. The brush mark gets smaller as you pull it up. Take the pressure off the brush. I'm going to go in now and use the same brush, and I'm going to go in and do lots of little marks for the little small twigs. So the softer you paint, the softer you touch the paper, the more delicate the more delicate the mark is. So up here, when these small little twigs and so forth, is just a light touch with a brush. And sometimes the faster you move the stroke, the faster you move the brush, the lighter touch you'll get with the. If you put too much pressure on the paper, you'll get a large, thick line with the brush mark. Here you just want to have indication of a small branch. You want to move quickly and lightly. You just want small marks. Continue to build up the density. Okay, now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add a little more connection here with the main trunk with these larger branches to give them a little more thickness where they join the tree trunk. And then as they branch out, they get much thinner, of course, as they branch out from the main trunk. They have a good strong connection with the base of the tree, the trunk itself. Take a look at you can see here from the reference tree, you got a lot of branches on there. And so you can just spend your time building it up a little bit, but you don't want to overdo it. So you want to get a good idea, a good feeling for it, and be happy with the design that's there. Okay. And come back here. I might want to do a little more texture here on top of the hill here, the silhouette, showing weeds and grass and so forth that's on the edge. It's not smooth there. There's probably some rocks there and so forth. Okay. All right, now there's going to be I got a final touch now. Final touch. And I've been experimenting with this a little bit. What I want to do, in order to get the feeling for there's still some more small areas, little twigs that are attached to the branches and to the twigs are still little places where the leaves grow on. So what I've learned here is you take a bristle brush. This is an old 1/2-inch bristle brush, and I load it with paint. Pretty dry. You don't want to get too wet. Just a nice dry paint. And what I'm going to do here now, I'm going to use the same kind of stroke. I'm going to go in here now. I'm just going to go in and just kind of lay it on the paper and just kind of drag it. And kind of build up a little more silhouette here on the branches. These branches now are so thick in there that I'm not going to paint every single one. So this will just give the idea that there's a lot of little branches on top of that network of branches that's on there. So I load up the brush with just a little bit of paint, pretty dry, not much water in the brush, just to weten the palette is all it is. And I'm going to just drag the real quick little stroke, and that will give the impression of smaller twigs and a little more silhouette on those branches to show that there's a little more definition out there with a little more detail. I've even tried it with a large. This is the 1-inch bristle brush, and I can try that also. I load it with paint, and this is kind of experimental. Just go toward the end of the branches, kind of give a little more density in there inside that tree. Okay, now bring that forward. You might be able to see a little bit of that a little more added dimension. Now you can do that, but don't overwork it, because right at this stage here now, you can really put too much paint on it and really distract from what you want to do. I think I've accomplished what I wanted to do. I wanted to show a sunset sky And remember, we used the large brushes, we used the Hake brushes, and I put in the yellow orange, the red, the purple, and the blue, all the way from the bottom to the top, and then came down with a second layer on top of that, and let it. I'll put on a wet background with just water, and let it kind of seep in, and let it flow in and come together. Okay, we dried that. Then I put in the dark mixture in the foreground, and then added the branches. I started out with some of the larger branches with my number 16 round, to get the nice thick ones. And then I went to the number 4 rigger, and the stroke there was to go in, lay it down flat on the paper, and then pick up the brush as you move it across. Get a nice thin tapered line with those branches. Okay, a little bit of texture on the top here with the branches and so forth, and this gives you the depth. This shows the hill mass going down. Okay, let's put a mat around that. I want to put a mat around this one. Yeah, let's put a mat. Okay, I'm gonna put the mat, a blue mat around. It'll be fine. Whoa. You can use different colors to try it out for yourself, but blue would work. A darker, not black. Don't put black on there. Black would take a lot too much contrast on that. You still want the eyes to go into the painting itself. You want the darkest of the painting to be on the painting itself. The background, the outline of the painting should be a little bit darker in this case. If you put it in white, that's also a pretty good effect. And this is just, I'm using the back of the palette just to show you the back of the mat, to show what a white border would look like. Okay, so that gives you, that's also another possible way to mount or to frame the painting. Okay, you can try several colors and see what you like. Pick up something that's on it. You might pick up a little bit of the darker browns or a little bit of darker blues to try it out for yourself. Okay. All right. Let's go back to my main camera. Hey. Well, that was a good exercise in, well, I'd say putting a graded wash using the warm color, yellows and orange and reds, and then adding the cool colors, which was the violets and the blues on top of that. This is a good exercise for a graded wash, especially for a sky. And you can do the same thing if you were doing a sunrise or even a sunny day. You could use different colors of blues and do the same thing. But that colorful wash and then a graded wash to give it the impression of a sunset. So that was my sunset sky. Then the contrast to that was the dark foreground to go against that nice light warm background. So if you have any questions or comments, put those on my view on the bottom of the screen tonight on the comments section. If you have any more comments, I'll be back again next week on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another drawing exercise or another watercolor exercise or practice. I found out in watercolor, the more you practice, the better you get. Okay, so if you come back and watch and then try along with me, you'll learn more. Okay, also I'll be back this evening at 7:30 p.m. with Simply Drawing with Everett. I got a little drawing exercise to do there tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then on Sunday I'll put out anyone can draw with one line only. So I'll see you next week, same time, same place, on Everett's Watercolors. So you all be safe, stay warm, and I'll see you in the next live video. Bye.